Hey everyone, this is JillianAlliyah. Welcome to my new YouTube channel, Curious Minds. This is the channel where you can find random facts and interesting topics.
Did you forget how to have a conversation?
You can look forward to a new topic every week. And this is my new partner, Ricardo Ignacio. I want to share a little bit about myself with the YouTube community. I am 26 years old. I'm Jamaican, and I'm from South Florida.
Speaking of which, if you don't mind me cutting in, since you're talking about fun facts, you are a Jamaican from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So, question number one for you,
Mm-hmm.
how did a Jamaican from Florida partner up with a Mexican from California? How'd that happen? I'm pretty sure your audience would like to learn this.
You know, Ricardo, that's an interesting question. Okay, it's a little throwback time. In 2016, I came across your page on Facebook, and what stood out to me is that you revealed a very personal blog about yourself and your picture. So then I've been following you for quite some time. So then I messaged you, and then I told you, I am glad that I came upon your page. You're a great writer and you write from your heart, and that's amazing. And I think you are a beautiful man on the inside and out. So then throughout the years, periodically messaged you. And I told you my goals of like wanting to become a reporter, and then I worked in that industry. And then you were asking me what's my aim, what am I doing to achieve those goals, and the conversation like continued from there. So it was very light conversations, but we just touched on our career and our aspirations. So that's where that's where our conversation blossomed.
The first time you messaged me, you mentioned what your aspirations, your goals were. Brief conversation, you mentioned it, and then some time passed by. You messaged me again another time, maybe 6 months, maybe a year later. You messaged me, and more or less the same thing. Hey, me again, how you doing? Updating me a little bit. And that was 6 years ago, more or less. And it was always you reaching out, hey, me again type thing. Just, updating you, and also, letting you know I'm still following you. I still read your blogs, etc. And but this last time that you messaged me, 6 years later from the first time, you were how old were you the first time you messaged me? Do you remember?
Well, I'm 26 now, and that was like 6 years ago. So I was 20 years old. 20.
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. So 20-year-old Jillian messaged me 6 years ago. And so a month ago or so, and like you mentioned, our conversations before, or interactions rather, on social media were very light, just sharing a little quick updates. But then this last month, you messaged me, and I went back to read some of the first messages that we had, because it's not a lot to scroll.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a lot to scroll. You could just do this one good time, and that's all we've ever had in the last 6 years. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, I scroll, and I was like, damn. I thought to myself, damn, this girl has been messaging me for a long time, and we have no dialogue going on here. And so I said, hey, you know what? So I said, where are you in life now? Where are you? You mentioned to me that you wanted to be a reporter. And if you ever do become it, you would like to interview me, etc. Something like along the lines of that.
Yes.
And like I said, that's what I read, right? That's what I read. Like, damn, this is the dialogue that I had. So I said, you know what? Let me see where she's at now. 6 years later. And so I asked, hey, where are you at in life now? And so you started telling me, right? And so I decided, hey, let me get your number. I asked you for your number. You gave it to me. And the first thing I did is I video called you. So I video called you. Now, speaking of fun facts, another question. Do
Mm-hmm.
you remember how long our first real conversation
Mm-hmm.
via a video chat, do you remember how long it was, more or less? Do you remember that?
That was a long conversation. It was a couple of hours from at least like 4 hours.
At
It
least,
was a long conversation.
at least 4 hours. Now, do you remember
Hmm.
what all we talked about?
We talked about like the most randomest topics. Like we talked about religion. We talked about history. We talked about culture, and
Yes.
it's a blend of those conversations. And it was really enlightening.
Culture, history, science, astrology, everything you could possibly think. We talked about from the most simplest things to the most craziest things, right?
Yes.
So see, this is where things got interesting because I realized that you have a very curious mind. You
Mm.
have and I asked you the reason why we even bothered touching about religion was because I asked you if you were, if you were religious at all, and you said yes, I'm a Christian. And
Mm.
one of the things that I really enjoyed, enjoyed at that very moment, and still enjoy about you, but one of the things that I enjoyed about you initially was the fact that you went ahead and claimed the religion that you practiced and or believed in, and afterwards, you asked me, what about you? And I simply said, oh, I'm an atheist. And most Christians, I'm pretty sure you could say this is correct. They wouldn't even want to bother asking me more beyond that. After I said, oh, I'm an atheist, okay, never mind. Let's leave that alone. You, on the other hand, you went and said, oh, hey, so how did you arrive to being an atheist in your life, etc.? So I started telling you that, well, check this out. I actually, when I was born, I was baptized a Catholic, and then later in life, I became a Christian as well. Um, and long story short, now I'm here as an atheist. And when I was giving you all the details that took hours, to give, one thing I've noticed about you is nothing that I shared about me, despite the fact that you and I are so different in background
Mm-hmm.
and ideology as well and belief system. Um, you, because we're video chatting, I saw your face expression showed interest, and you seemed very intrigued about learning something different. It didn't matter if in this particular case, me, it didn't matter if what I believe was so opposite, and or some people would say against what you believe, although I wouldn't call it against it, but opposite, literally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you seem very intrigued, and I mentioned this because I thought to myself, everything that we talked about, whether history, culture, ethnic backgrounds, etc., this young lady just wants to soak up everything. Safe to say? It's safe to say, yes?
Sponge.
So I said to you, see, at that very moment when I noticed your curious mind, no pun intended, when I noticed that, um, I asked you, I said, so do you have your own platform, by the way? And you said no. You said no. And I said, okay, now I found the reason why you and I are in touch, because you need your own platform. And when I said that to you, I said, look, you need your own platform. You need to start your own YouTube. And this was the very first moment that I noticed that you were kind of like a little hesitant, a
Mm.
little hesitant. And then when I noticed that, I said, it's almost like I thought to myself, you're almost pushing someone to unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
You're just pushing them blindly. So of course they're going to be hesitant. So I thought to myself, okay, I want to discover if she's hesitant because it's something she doesn't want, or is it she's hesitant because she doesn't know how to go about it. She doesn't know, you know what I mean? So I said, okay, what if I offer my contribution? So I told you, when I saw you're hesitant, the energy, I asked, so how would you feel if I help you do it and I become, part of your show? And you're like, I saw like your face light up a little bit and you seem very like interested now. I said, there you go. See, she does want to do something. It's just, she doesn't want to get pushed to it. And that's it. Bye, have a good one type thing, So, I said, okay, you know what? And now to not make it all about me, the reason why, of course, is because of your curious mind. Of your curious mind is why I said you need this, because despite your personal beliefs, despite that, you just want to learn everything. You just want to learn everything. You are interested naturally, is what I've noticed about you. You're naturally interested in learning about all cultures. One thing I noticed about you, you are in a sense obsessed with history and ethnic backgrounds of people, etc. So I said to you, do you realize how many people love these kind of discussions? They love to hear, different pieces of history, pieces of all kinds of information. They love it. They love watching and or listening to people have discussions and conversations, dialogue in regards to, history, culture, etc. They love this stuff. People triumph on YouTube because of these topics, And so I said, you know what? You have been pursuing this particular career uh, of holding a microphone and delivering pieces of information, sharing stories. I mean, for crying out loud, the first thing you wanted to do is, hey, I'm trying to become a reporter, and if I do get there, I would love to do a story on you. And I said, never mind me. Never mind me. Your curious mind is capable of telling better stories than mine. Better stories than mine. You are. I knew. I knew. I knew that. I knew that you had it in you. I knew it, but just by your interest, your natural interest in so many things. Like I said, and like you said, our first initial real conversation was a minimum of 4 hours.
Yes.
And it was all over the place. All over the place, and I really enjoyed it a lot. And so I said, you know what? You need your own platform. You need your channel. People would love to listen to you. People would love to listen because you would touch a lot of things. You would touch a lot of topics. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot of quote unquote minorities do is they stick to a particular, they kind of box themselves in, and a lot of minorities I see on YouTube, they kind of only stick to one particular type of content. But you, on the other hand, the conversation that we had, like I said, it touched on everything. And what I told you was, do not fall for that, what others are doing. Be authentic to who you are. Be authentic, meaning you're interested in everything. So talk about everything. Don't just stick to one thing and narrow your thing down. That first of all, that wouldn't be you. and that would you would be just stereotyping yourself. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, another question, if you don't mind. You said you're Jamaican.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now, here's my question in regards to that.
What's your question?
How do you identify yourself as a Jamaican?
Well, Ricardo, I identify myself as a Jamaican because, even though I am Jamaican, I've been told that you are a Jamaican because even though your family is from Jamaica, I was born in Florida. So I'm American, but the Jamaican culture. But it's also, because of my accent. So that's why I identify as Jamaican.
Okay. With that said,
Yeah.
and I'm asking you this for a reason. I want to see if you and I have this particular thing in common.
Okay.
So, a Jamaican,
Mm-hmm.
as a Jamaican,
Uh-huh.
how do Jamaicans born in Jamaica who come here later in life, how do they look and or treat you? Because you are Jamaican born here.
Well, from my personal experience,
Yes.
when I've met some Jamaicans who don't consider me a real Jamaican because
There you go.
I was born in Florida, and they say, well, it's like they try to test me or test my knowledge of Jamaica to see if I'm a real Jamaican. And they'll say, okay, we'll speak patois then. Oh, okay, you don't have the accent, so you're not Jamaican. And then it was always such a baffling experience because it's just because just because I was born in America, and it's the motto of Jamaica is it's out of many one people. So meaning out of many different people, out of many different ethnicities, we're all Jamaican no matter what.
Okay.
Yes.
So do from your experience, of course, okay, and now let me ask you differently. So in my experience as a Mexican, now here's the thing. I was born in Mexico, but I came to this country, to the US, when I was 6 years of age. Okay. I was 6. And so I was raised like an American. I was raised here. My English is spoken. I speak English better than I do Spanish. My Spanish, I kind of stutter a little bit at this point because I didn't grow up practicing it in schools with my friends, even with my brothers. The only time I spoke Spanish is with my mother. That's it. Everything else is English, English, English on a daily basis. Now, I say that to say this. One thing that I've noticed with Mexicans born in Mexico like me, but more specifically Mexicans that grew up in Mexico and later came here, so they had to learn English, and they don't speak it that well, thick accent. They don't feel they feel out of place, and because of that, they tend to look at the Mexican or like you call it, you call yourself a Jamaican, or okay, then here, a Mexican or an American with Mexican parents. Mexicans born in Mexico that came here later tend to look at the American Mexican different, and in a sense with spite. Do you experience that?
Yes, it is a spiteful energy, and
Okay.
that spiteful energy comes with the testing. It comes with the
Mm.
you don't sit with us kind of
No.
attitude. You can't sit with us. And it's like, well, I'm not coming to you with hate. Like, I'm not coming to you with that sort of energy. I just never understood the difference. It's all, you know what? It's all based in our voice. Because the minute they hear me speak, they're like, okay, no, you're not Jamaican. Like, no Jamaican sounds like this.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy is that same thing with if I were to speak Spanish and a Mexican who was born in Mexico but grew up in Mexico and came here later, and they hear me speaking English, they will already assume that I was born here, and because of that, they'll look at me some kind of way. Because if I were to speak Spanish and it has an accent and I stutter, I can't speak it as fluent as they will criticize me. They'll look down upon me. And not to get into this kind of deal, but a lot of our gangs today, Mexican gangs, stem out of that hatred, because the Mexican didn't accept the American Mexican as a Mexican. And so the American Mexican formed their own gang that was to almost, well, since you're not considering me a Mexican, that's where the whole Chicano thing came from. The Chicano was born from not being accepted by the Mexican. The Mexicans didn't consider the Mexicans. So the American Mexicans said, okay, fine. From here on, we're a different race, and we are the Chicano. That's how that started. So, and so the whole, North versus West, the Mexican born in Mexico and the Mexican, or Chicano rather, born on this side of the border, that's where the whole gangs and conflict between us stemmed out of. And so I'm only sharing this piece of history because I wanted to ask you that, is there something similar that you've experienced in the Jamaican history? Anything similar like that?
From peers, it wasn't like violent or anything, but it was more like the energy of not accepting you, or just not wanting to be,
Okay.
just not wanting to like be your friend, or not wanting to just be in your social atmosphere because you weren't it's like, yeah, you consider yourself Jamaican, but you don't always listen to reggae music. Reggae music is not your favorite, number one. Like, I love reggae music, I do, but it's, you know what? You don't know this artist? Okay, yeah, no, I can't hang out with you. It's like petty stuff like that. Or
it's like that, huh? Got it.
yeah, it's as if some people just stick with their culture and just stick with one culture. That's all they know because it's all they really grew up with. But it's like, is it all boiled down to that? Because I'm like, consider myself like a new breed of like the next generation of Jamaicans, because my family, they moved here for better opportunities, and I'm the result of that. So I'm like proud of that. And on top of it, on top of that, it's like, I don't understand why, why certain cultures or some people just box themselves in, because like my family, they're not like that. They accept me like no matter what. Like, regardless if I have the accent or not, like they accept me because they're my family. But I've just experienced that from acquaintances or people I barely know, where if they ask you where you're from, and they just test you like it's a pop quiz. I'm like, what is this? like I've noticed that, but
Right.
it's like, and it just makes
Okay.
it seem
Okay.
like, okay, you know what? I kind of know. It's like, is it out of coming out of, oh, I know more than you, out of that sense, or is it an ego? I don't know.
Mm, dang. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's pettiness too. There's pettiness too, like that, in between the Mexican and the American Mexican. There's pettiness too, like that. Oh, you don't listen to this kind of music? Yeah, there's petty. There's a lot of pettiness in between us. It's interesting. It's interesting how we seem to divide ourselves amongst our own ethnicity.
Yeah.
Um, an example, a quick one. You know, uh, when a Mexican comes this way, comes this way later in life from Mexico to this country, and they, I was born in Mexico. Like I said, I came here at a very young age, and I grew up here, was raised like an American, um, whatever that means, right? And and um, and I noticed that a lot of Mexicans born in Mexico that came here later in life, and they struggled obviously more due to coming here later and feeling out of place, not being able to quickly adapt, and not being able to quickly speak English, etc. Having a difficult time in the scholastic system, things of that nature. Um, it's almost like they feel some kind of spite against us who are either born here or raised here from youth, since youth. It's almost like they in us they kind of hate us for having, yeah, for lack of better words, more privilege.
Hmm.
The privilege of being born here, of being raised here, and having more opportunities. Obviously, it's almost like they despise us for it. Like, you spoiled. But the irony is that they only look at their own people, their own reflection, with spite because we have better opportunities. Meanwhile, a Russian, a Chinese, a Korean, a Jamaican, whatever, a Caucasian, an Indian, no problem, no problem. If they're doing well in this country, etc., they only have a problem with people who look like themselves, who are doing better. Did you experience that as a American from Jamaicans?
Um, you touched on a topic with, like, talking about privilege, and it just makes
Hmm.
me wonder, like, is it against the fact that I was just born on this land? Is it something just against that fact that I was born in the USA that's the issue? Because if those same people had, children born in the US, it would, like, be like us,
Of
that
course.
the outcome of it. Um,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. It's like, I can't go back in time. I can't, like, hate my identity just because you don't like it, or you don't like the fact that I'm not, um, I don't have the accent, and that, okay, you don't have, it's like, you know what, if you don't have the accent, you're not us, period. It's like,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
consider culture a clique, and it's not a clique.
Mm. We humans are very tribal, huh? Very tribal.
It's like territorial
Yeah.
over a culture. It's very territorial, and it's like, but it's not up to you. It's not up to the people who say, okay, if you're not born here, then uh, you're not a part of us.
Mm.
But with people, it's just been more about, like, just questioning, like, oh, okay, well, can you say it in this language, or can you say it in patois, or can you say it like this? Oh, you can't say it like this, then you're not. I've experienced that, like, in college, from random people that I don't even know. And they're just acquaintances. So Yeah, but the thing is that they don't know me. That's the thing. They're just going based off of like my accent, but they don't understand. They don't know my personality. They don't know who I am. They don't know what I've experienced in life. So just because you're just judging me based off my accent, but I can, it's like I can understand you as a person, but you will never get to know me because you just disliked me from the beginning. Because when we spoke about our backgrounds and I told you who I was, you didn't like the fact that it came from me because I'm too Americanized.
Mm, mm. It's an interesting terminology there. Americanized. Interesting terminology. Mm. Yeah, it's used by us too. The term Americanized is used by us too. That's interesting. Um, wow, that's pretty crazy. Well, that see what we just talked about, this particular subject. That's one of the things that we also spoke about in our first video chat that we had. And
Mm.
like I said, you you're very you feel very at least it feels very comfortable speaking with you about any topic, and that is why uh I encouraged you to do the Curious Minds. The only thing I said is, hey, come up with a name, come up with a banner, and here you are. You came up with Curious Minds.
Yeah.
You have a banner now, and so pretty cool, pretty cool. And I'm glad that I encouraged you, and you
Mm.
know I'll
Yeah.
do my.
Yes, I'm glad you encouraged me too, that you encouraged me to come up with this channel and start this, for the entire world to see. So I'm glad I, got on board with that.
Okay. I'm I'm interested in seeing and I like that you and I are very different. I like that you and I are very different, different, obviously different, culturally different, um completely different backgrounds, and I'm going to enjoy coming together as very different people, to talk about the same subject matter. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. Obviously, you'll have a different perception, and obviously different experiences, and it'll be fun to me to touch the same subject, yet two different personalities, two different backgrounds, etc. That's fun to me. The thought of that, the idea of that, the concept of that is very fun to me.
Yeah, it's like a melting pot of perspectives.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun, and I'm excited about your channel. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I am too. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the latest content. And make sure you say hi on my social media.